Welcome back. The Cox Plate yesterday. Keith Hillier joins us, as always, from Radio 3UZ, and the winner of the Cox Plate yesterday, Greg Hall, his greatest moment in racing. It was a joy to see you there yesterday, Greg, after the Cox Plate. It was magnificent, Keith. I don't think I've seen a rider come back to such acclaim, and the way he just stood up in the irons, it was fantastic.
Greg was jubilant, and so he should have been, because Cox Plate Superimposed is Australia's favourite racehorse. He was at long odds yesterday, Bruce, but that didn't stop the fans giving him a hero's welcome back.
What was it like for you, Greg, coming back with 33,000 people there, the biggest crowd since Family of Man winning, and on such a courageous and popular racehorse?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Bruce. You know, I was only saying the day before, I could always say to Nicholas, which is my son, he's only 5, but I was thinking, well, at least I could tell him that I rode Superimposed, win, lose or draw, but to win the Cox Plate's one thing, but to win it on that horse is just another. It was just...
Well, I made the point at the beginning of the show, Keith and Greg, that legends, they say that legends are made in the Cox Plate. Well, this one was already a legend. The legend was just enhanced and increased a little more, if that's possible.
Yes, he's Australia's record stakes earner now, Bruce. But this was a Cox Plate that Superimposed won. It also was a Cox Plate that the connections of 5 horses claimed their horses should have won. It was a roughhouse Cox Plate.
It was. Greg, we're about to go and see the race in full. Your tactics going into the race, the horse was well back. What was your riding tactics? I know you drew alongside Naturalism at the start. What was your pre-race plan?
Oh, no, I haven't got much time, Bruce, but I had the owner ring me the day before, and he told me, I'll put it briefly, he told me to follow Naturalism, and he doesn't like the whip too much. And then getting into the mountain yard, Anthony Friedman, he said, be back near last, and that's all he said. The rest was history.
So it all happened for you. Well, here's how it happened for Greg Hall. There are a number of incidents. We'll be highlighting them in a moment. Obviously, look at about the 600 for the fall. Look for the thrilling finish, and we will be showing you the head-on shortly with the protest after the race. Here's the Cox Plate.
Lights on, they're off. Great start on the Cox Plate. Down on the inside, Mannerism, one of the first to jump out, and from the outside, Kinjate began like a rocket and goes straight across to lead down the straighter. Coronation Day is well placed on the inside of Slight Chance, and very deep is Burst going up towards the leader. Palace Rain is in behind them. Naturalism over on the rails as they pass the judge with a lap to go. Wide is Muirfield Village. Then Citizen in behind them, being followed by Let's Elope on the outside of Mannerism and Superimposed with Prince Illyria. A length and a half further back, second last, Better Loosen Up, and last of all is Rough Habit. Down the side, they run down past the 1600, and Kinjate is the pilot by length to Burst on the outside of Coronation Day. Close up behind them, Slight Chance. They're followed by Palace Rain on the outside of Naturalism. A length further back, travelling up deep is Muirfield Village, followed by Citizen. Mannerism getting a nice run on the inside. Prince Illyria tucked in behind them, followed by Let's Elope and Superimposer. Second last is Better Loosen Up, and last of all, Rough Habit. Around the back, 1,200 metres to go. And over on the inside now, Slight Chance has gone up to take the lead with Kinjate. A length and a half further back, in third place in the box seat is Coronation Day. Close behind them is Burst, one off the fence. A length and a half, Naturalism getting a beautiful run. He's over on the inside of Palace Rain as they pass the 1,000. One length further back is Muirfield Village. They're followed by Mannerism moving up on the inside of Citizen. A bit further back then Prince Illyria. Let's Elope going forward. Superimposes third last with Better Loosen Up, and last of all Rough Habit. 800 metres to go in the Cox Plate now. Kinjate on the outside, just in advance of Slight Chance, and Burst is close behind the Palace Rain. Coronation Day as they pack right up coming down the school side. 650 to go, and here come the challengers. There's a fall. There's a fall. Citizen is down. Citizen is down, and what's the other one? Oh, it could be Naturalism, may have come down. Citizen, Naturalism, the two to come down in a fall. Round the turn they come. Kinjate as the leader, tackled by Muirfield Village, and Slight Chance still there. And here comes Let's Elope. Let's Elope on the outside, joining in, followed by Coronation Day and Mannerism, nowhere to go. Slight Chance, Kinjate lead into the straight. Let's Elope down the outside is flying home. And down the outside, Superimposed, followed by Prince Illyria. Halfway down the running, Let's Elope takes the lead in the Cox Plate. Superimposed flying home, Let's Elope, Superimposed, Let's Elope, Superimposed won the Cox Plate from Let's Elope, Kinjate third.
Well, I'd hate to be the horse if someone told you to give him a hit with a whip. Of course, you have to do those things. You were very vigorous. A key point of the race, just looking at it there, Keith, was the fact that Greg was able to, on Superimposed, keep Better Loosen Up in on the turn, because had Better Loosen Up been able to come in underneath him and push him wider, Better Loosen Up might have won the Cox Plate and Superimposed would not have.
Bruce, I've got to be critical of jockeys collectively. I think that everyone was too naturalism conscious. They're all waiting for naturalism to make a move, and I think that the Cox Plate could have been won by someone scooting off when they were all jammed up and going half pace. The riding in the race was far too tight, and I hope that we don't have a repetition of last year's Melbourne Cup, because some of these guys are riding for a fall. Yesterday's fall was accidental, but if they continue to ride like that, there will be falls that will not be accidental.
I thought, this is not a criticism of Mick Dittman, I think he's one of the all-time greats. I thought yesterday that he didn't control the Cox Plate like I thought he would. I thought he would have been third on the outside and have the race under control. And I think a lot of the jockeys were probably trying to key off Mick, and when Mick got caught in a pocket and was probably one horse back further than he expected to be, it changed the complexion of the race. Do you have any thoughts on that, Greg? I mean,
yeah, I mean, my point of view was that I knew I was always going to get back, and Mick was never in my mind, but you're quite right, Bruce. I mean, the whole race revolved around Mick Dittman and naturalism, you know, and as luck would have it that it never entered my mind, and we got up and won.
But what about the finish, Greg? It was like a demolition derby, horses bouncing off horses everywhere. Had to be scary.
Yeah, I mean, talk about luck. I mean, I got off the fence at the half mile about 3 or 4 deep because I had Rough Habit behind me, and there's one thing I didn't want. I wasn't sort of worrying about him winning, but I didn't want any horse coming round me, and I just peeled away from the fence, and then the split second later, bang, 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 3 come down like it was just a miracle that I never waited another half a second and gone over the top of him myself, and Rough Habit jumped all the falling horses and got away with. I mean,
well, he didn't really get away. He got cut and he didn't fall, but he was out of the. Let's have a look at that incident, Greg, that you've just talked about in detail. Here is the fall coming down towards the school. Palace Reign's the first go. It's still very hard. I've seen it a dozen times. It's still very hard to know exactly what happened, and the stewards have adjourned the inquiry. There's Rough Habit. You can see him at the back being totally poleaxed, and you are right. You're out. You're following Let's Elope, and you were in a winning position on the turn, ready to strike. Now, Keith, we're about to show the incident where the protest occurred, 5th against 2nd. It was upheld. I think it shocked a lot of people yesterday. Now, we've got to be careful what we say here, because jockey Greg Childs has been suspended until November 22. He has the right to appeal, so obviously we can't be making too much comment, but the stewards did have an official report. Yes,
the stewards released the head-on patrol film, Bruce, on the condition we didn't comment on it, but this is the stewards' report that Childs was found guilty of careless riding and letting his mount, Let's Elope, shift in, approaching the winning post, were not sufficiently clear of Better Loosen Up, taking that gelding in onto Prince Saleri, who in turn was tightened onto the hindquarters of Kinjite, which resulted in that horse turning outwards and hampered, Prince Saleri having to be checked and Better Loosen Up having to be hampered. And it goes on. So there's a lot happening in the final stages of the finish, and here it is.
Right, let's have a look, Keith. This is basically from side on. Greg, you see him laying down there with Better Loosen Up, keeping him in the pocket. Now, Let's Elope has just reached the lead. Kinjite, Prince Saleri and Better Loosen Up all tightening up. Greg coming right over the top on Superimpose. Now here, from the right, slight chance, Kinjite, then Prince Saleri, Better Loosen Up. Look at Let's Elope hanging down and Superimpose coming down. He always does run in. Better Loosen Up, tightened up, turned around there. Kinjite with him, and Let's Elope and Superimpose.
OK, I hope you didn't go beyond the identification here that we agreed to, but that was fine. There was no real comment.
No, sorry, Keith.
You had me nervous.
Very briefly, Greg, Melbourne Cup situation for you?
I don't know, Lee will be watching this, so I'll leave it to him.
Lee Freeman, who do you want to be riding? Are you on Sub-Zero in the Melbourne Cup at this stage?
Yes, I am, yeah.
You happy?
Very happy. More than happy.
If it rains, you'll be delighted. You'll be smiling for days. If it rains, you'll be favourite nearly.
Yep.
If not the roughest.
No.
Bruce, and finally the good news is that Peter Hutchison, who went to hospital after the fall, is home this morning. His face is a bit puffed. Naturalism pulled up 100% and he will run in the McKinnon Stakes next Saturday. It'll
be some race. Well, what about Greg Hall yesterday? First time he's been on the back of Superimpose. He said he'd ride him in track work Thursday. The connection said, don't bother, just turn up Saturday, Greggy. And he's landed $1 million first prize. Not all for him, by the way. Greg, well done.
Yep,
congratulations. Thanks. A fantastic result, and he's had a tremendous comeback to the absolute big-time Greg Hall this year. A break, Max Presnell sits where Greg's been sitting. Didn't earn as much money as Greg yesterday as we talk about the other races at Moonee Valley. You didn't earn more than $100,000 yesterday, Max. If you did, you've been keeping it to yourself. A brief comment on the Cox Plate.
I thought the Cox Plate was a mess. Certainly the integrity was maintained with a mighty horse like Superimpose, a Sydney horse. winning the Cox Plate. I say a Sydney horse because he always showed us... He always showed Sydney-siders just how great he is, and until yesterday, I do think you Melbournians might have doubted that.
Well, it's his first Group 1 win in Melbourne. He has won 7, but I can remember him starting his career at Seymour in a maiden. Now, where's Seymour, Max?
I wouldn't have any idea, but the point is that Superimpose knows where the winning post is. He showed that yesterday. But as far as the form of the Cox Plate is concerned, as I said, I think it's a mess. The good thing to come out of it was the improvements by horses like Let's Elope, Better Loosen Up, and of course Superimpose, a live Melbourne Cup chance. They're great horses. They showed glimmers of that yesterday, and I'm looking forward to the future as far as they're concerned.
Well, it's a good point about the Melbourne Cup because the race has taken on a different complexion. We'll show you the market a little later, but 3 superstar horses have suddenly become very much a factor. Superimpose, Better Loosen Up, and probably in particular Let's Elope.
Yes, true. Poor Let's Elope. At one stage, Bruce, she looked like earning $1 million. She had earned $1/3 when she went past the post, and she finished up with nothing. Yes,
well, she got 75,000 off the Better Loosen Up connections the other day in a roundabout way, and they got 85 yesterday off her. But it's hard to see her winning with the weight she's got in the Melbourne Cup, but she is a super horse. And I think we should mention, and in fact, Greg mentioned, I don't think you'll mind me, that, you know, Bart Cummings' training performance with Let's Elope has to be admired. No doubt about that.
Bruce, never say never when you're dealing with horses like Let's Elope.
Yeah, she... look, the last mare to win was Flight 46, and only Surrounders won since. I'd go so far as to say she's better than Leilani and Lightfinger. She's the best mare I've seen.
When you've got Let's Elope and Better Loosen Up, the 2 horses of the year for the past 2 seasons, then you throw in the veteran Superimpose, the Cox Plate winner. This is going to be a Melbourne Cup with a difference, isn't it? It
sure is. It could be one of the greats. Let's see if we saw a winner from the Moonee Valley Cup. Remember, it's been a long time between drinks for a Moonee Valley Cup winner. I think it was Wodella in '53 before Kingston Rule won in 1990 and did the double. Will Donegal miss to it? Here's how he won the Moonee Valley Cup.
Up towards the home turn. Fra takes the lead from NASA Rocket in the Cup now. They've kicked away. In 3rd place, running on Donegal, Miss Cross Swords. Mountain Rule around the outside is finishing strongly. At the head of the others, beach side. Quarterband can't go on. Norkin Cavalieri as they straighten up. Fra the leader. Tackled by NASA Rocket. Cross Swords the outside. Cross Swords on the outside. Donegal missed the centre halfway down the running. Donegal missed, put his head in front of Cross Swords, and down the outside is Mountain Rule. Donegal missed as the leader close to home from Cross Swords, and Fra battling on. Donegal missed will win the Cup. Donegal missed has won it from Cross Swords. Fra 3rd.
Well, he's a very good horse. He's won more than $1 million. I think, Max, I'll concede this. You're in a better position than Keith and myself to comment on that race because most of the horses have been racing in New South Wales. Your thoughts out of the Moonee Valley Cup from a Melbourne Cup point of view? He was re-handicapped, by the way, 1.5.
Yeah, too much. I can't have Donegal missed in the Melbourne Cup. I concede he's a good racehorse. He's a competitive racehorse, but I just feel as far as the 3,200 metres are concerned, against the calibre of rival he's going to come against, I'll gamble against Donegal missed. Cross Swords, more scope for improvement. I was looking at this race, though. This Moonee Valley Cup had a distinct Grafton Cup look about it. I just wonder about the quality, but there again, that
Max,
great...
where's Grafton?
North of Seymour. That great student of form, Jim Bowler, pointed out something to me, though. He said Summer Cup winners. Now, Cross Swords has won a Summer Cup. Now, again, I don't think it's one of the great races on the Australian calendar.
Superimpose won it, though, didn't he?
Yes, and a horse called Ming Dynasty. He said, so don't take it quietly. So, Cross Swords is the better of those pair, in my opinion. Cavalieri can do better too. Cavalieri, to my eye, will be a better horse for that run. I wouldn't be surprised if Laurie Laxton swings blinkers back onto him in the Dalgety, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cavalieri becomes a live Melbourne Cup hope. But I've still got Vandercross on top after yesterday.
I still feel they're the second division.
Cavalieri was the best run in the race from a Melbourne Cup view, to my eye. He has a victory over Vandercross in New Zealand. There was a thought that Brent Thompson, who will be in Melbourne for the Melbourne Cup, would ride Cavalieri, but Laurie Laxton said he would prefer a guy who's been on the scene to know the rivals better.
Fair enough. The Moya Stakes yesterday, this is a long way away from the Melbourne Cup. Weight for age over 1,000, brought together Clan O'Sullivan, Mukta, the 2 3-year-olds, and Scalacci, and this was some run, and this is some racehorse.
Off. Scalacci on the outside was first out in company there with Classic Magic, who began well underway quickly. Also Solutions showing speed with Barcara, and going fast along the inside is Sublimate, being followed by Abassi, and just in behind them over on the outside Noble Lancer and Mukhtar pushing up along the inside. Glenn O'Sullivan is in behind them, and they're followed by Umatilla. Sonic Express behind them. Mr. Cube is third last, and Vain Sovereign last of all. Barcara, Scalacci together coming down past the 600 by length. Solution half a length away the inside to Mukhtar, a length and a half Abassi on the outside of Sublimate. Classic Magic, Noble Lancer wide, a good long gap to Glenn O'Sullivan over on the outside, followed by Sonic Express behind the Mr. Cube, Umatilla and Vain Sovereign. They're making the home turn. Barcara tackled by Scalacci, who's got his head in front as they straighten up. The favourite Scalacci, half a length to Barcara, 2 lengths to Mukhtar, and they're followed by Solution, and back behind them Sublimator. But it's Scalacci in front, halfway down the running is clear of Barcara and Mukhtar finishing on. But Scalacci, too brilliant for them. He'll win. Scalacci wins it well. Second home Mukhtar, third Barcara.
Well, you've got to put him at the top of the tree now. He's in rarefied class. He's up there with the greats of sprinters, no doubt about that. Glenn O'Sullivan. I'll get back to Scalacci in a moment because I want to comment from you, Keith, on him. Glenn O'Sullivan, Max, first time we've seen him here.
There is a query over Glenn O'Sullivan at present, whether he's come back, whether he's sound enough. He did strike trouble yesterday. I wouldn't completely wipe him, but I wouldn't be having my money on him until he shows me he's back to the 2-year-old days.
Keith, Scalacci?
I think I really should apologise to the connections of Scalacci for not selecting him yesterday. I'll never do it again. They were very fast horses in that race. He bounced in front, he toyed with the opposition, he was eased up on the line. He's one of the best sprinters, maybe the best since Vain. He's fantastic.
You rate him with Manicato and Placid Arc?
Oh, yes, I do. Ahead of Placid Arc and rivalling Manicato. He is a very good horse, Bruce.
Gee, Lee Friedman will be pleased, because remember the day after the Lightning he said this might be another Manicato, and I was one of many that said, Lee, hang on, you're going a bit too fast too quickly.
Yes.
Bruce, how long is it since you came across a horse that might even be too good for Australia? There's just isn't anything for Scalacci
That's the problem with the programming. And basically, he runs either in the Gadsden, where he'll get the grandstand, or the Linlithgow, and all he can run in the autumn is the William Reid in Melbourne and the Lightning. Too much weight in the other race, and then has to go up to Sydney and maybe run in the Canterbury Stakes, because the Galaxy's also a funny weight race.
Well, he might go to America, and he'll lick them there too if he does.
He's super, no doubt about that. Now, Keith mentioned a horse had beaten Viandacross, Cavalieri. This horse, Solvit, had also beaten Viandacross earlier on in his career in New Zealand. The good judges might have had something on him yesterday in the Waterford Crystal.
Up to the 500-metre mark now. Here's a great charge for the lead. Status being tackled by Solve at the outside. Soho Square there. Excited Angel coming around them next, followed by further back by Instrumental, getting a run through in the centre. Southern States the outsider, and they're followed by Black Sun, and right around them Planet Ruler making ground as they round the home turn. Solve takes the lead from Soho Square. In third place is Status boxing on well, followed by Instrumental. Southern States behind them, Infallible, and Excited Angel dropped out of it, but Solve is the leader halfway down the running. It's nicely clear. Solve is well out in front down the outside. Instrumental and finishing very fast. Vows down the outside, but Solvit has got it won. Solvit won it by a length and a half. Vows third. Instrumental.
That's normally a good guide for the big Honda race on the final day of the Carnival. Fire Commander won the race last year and then went to miss. But that was a terrific performance. He went hard early outside the leader, and he's obviously a big chance in the Honda.
Yes, 17 starts, 7 wins. He's a very good sprinter miler.
No question about that. And the milers are down a bit, I reckon, at the moment. We saw the Epsom and Smallfield this year. Kinjite, I doubt whether he'll run in the Honda, and I think at the moment that they're ready to be taken.
We've got one coming from Sydney. I'll tell you about it later.
Oh, I can't wait. It's not Ghost Story, obviously. He's already here. I love him. The BMW. Well, last year Naturalism won the race, and Zamoff the year before. I think Raveneur won this race and went on and won the Derby. I don't think we saw the Derby winner yesterday. Let's have a look at the BMW.
Up past the 600-metre marker. Shoeshine Henry on the outside. Captive Edition, the rails together. They're out by length, the Minstrel Man. Further back in the field is Roy's Boy, followed by a Popka, and back behind them is our Pompeii. And they were followed then by Reading as they come around the home turn. Shoeshine Henry the outside. Captive Edition, the rails are locked together. They're having a ding-dong Jill making the home turn. Shoeshine Henry and Captive Edition as they straighten up. 250 metres left to go. They're clear. A Popka is down the outside. And back behind them then is our Pompeii. It's Captive Edition on the inside. Shoeshine Henry. Captive Edition, Shoeshine Henry, they're having a ding-dong duel, and Kenny's Best Pella's flying home. He'll beat them all. Kenny's Best Pella's won it. Kenny's Best Pella's flowing home to score from Captive Edition and Shoeshine Henry.
Well, Mick Dickman must have thought he was on top of the world. His second winner for the day, but that was before Naturalism. I don't think they'll be in the frame. Redding's the best horse, I reckon, in the field.
Yes, he's potentially the best, but he's still a maiden. Mick Dittman won that race, and he's not going to get off Muirfield Village in the Derby to ride Kenny's best pal, Bruce.
Well, let's have a look at the Melbourne Cup market. It did change a bit yesterday. Viander Cross is 5 to 1. Let's Elope and Sub-Zero, the horse that Greg Hall will ride at 7 to 1. Royal Magic, there was some doubt about whether she'll run or not, and I don't think that'll be decided until after this Saturday. 10 to 1 with Castletown. Cavalieri into 12s. Better loosen up. Superimposed London Bridge at 15 to 1. The McKinnon Stakes is going to be quite extraordinary this week. You're going to have the Cox Plate field plus Viander Cross. In many ways, it's probably going to be the championship of Australia for this year.
Well, I think it will be, and it has become that in recent years, and it's part of Derby Day, which is without doubt the greatest single day's racing in Australia, and that's why I'm wearing the VRC tie this week, the turf tie, Bruce, because this does launch Melbourne Cup week.
Now, I wonder, the Melbourne Cup is a great race in Australia. We're hoping it becomes an international race, and the fact that we have live horses from overseas coming here to race, not horses that have been imported to be trained here. Now, there were a couple of horses that were nominated this year. Vintage Crop was one of them. He won a big race in Britain on the weekend. He was heavily backed. He won by about 7 lengths. Now, the trainer of the horse said this in the Sunday London Times. He said, the Melbourne Cup had been the plan for a year, but because of the quarantine and travel problems and general lack of incentive from the Australians, we decided it would not be worth the hassle. Might have messed up the horse for a long time. Well, the horse Vintage Crop's going on for the Cheltenham hurdle race. What sort of incentive should we be giving these horses? Is the VRC falling down? Should they be doing what Japan is doing to get the best horses here? Keith?
Well, he collectively put travel and quarantine. I can understand that, but for VRC incentives, I know he's wrong there, because the racing manager of the VRC, Les Benton, personally pampered the connections of the international horses. That's reading like the comments of a whinging pom to me.
You said it, Keith. No, this incentive caper is just right out of order. We offered a lot of incentives in Sydney, the STC with a BMW. We brought them out here, we quarantined them, spent a squillion on them, got 4 bob back. If they're not prepared to get over here to jump the hurdles, leave them in Great Britain.
Well, he's going to stay at home and jump the hurdles at Cheltenham. Max in good form, Keith always in good form. Greg Hall, our special guest. In racing, after the break, Alan Schwab joins us. Sydney Swans, Nathan Buckley, they're still in the news.